Hello. Welcome to this video. This video is going to be a soft-spoken ASMR style movie review of the new movie Novocaine, which just came out in theaters. I saw it last night, and the style or way that I want to approach this video is as if you had just seen the movie with me. So we just got home from the movie. Welcome home. Hope you enjoyed the film. And I'm going to talk about what I liked about the film and what I didn't like about the film. But given that we did both just see this movie together, this review of the film will contain spoilers, as we'll be talking about what we just watched together. So, if for some reason you fell asleep during the movie that we just watched together, I recommend that you go and rewatch the film, perhaps with someone else, and you can come back over to my house and we can discuss our thoughts on the film another time. Or perhaps you fell asleep, but it was because you simply thought the movie was really boring. And so you don't mind that I'm going to talk about all of the things that happened in the film, even if they are spoilers, even if you don't quite remember what happened. As long as you don't mind that I share my own thoughts on all of the different scenes and characters, then I suppose it's okay that we talk about it now. So I want to start with sort of a top level review. Oh, also, forgot to mention, I'm going to be taking some notes here about what I thought on the film as we go. So you might hear a little bit of typing happening in the background. So to start, I wanted to do like a top level understanding of this, which is I thought that the movie was really entertaining, but it wasn't technically perfect. And like, what do I mean by that? Well, when I say technically perfect, obviously like no movie is technically perfect, right? But I mean that there was a lot of thought put into all of the different characters, all of the different pieces of the puzzle. Every time that there's a line of dialogue or an action that a character takes, it's really thought out about how it impacts everybody else in the film and their characters, and everything just really makes sense. You're not asked to suspend your disbelief in positions where you don't have to. And speaking of like suspending your disbelief, this movie definitely asks you to do that because of the main character's condition is pretty out there. It's this idea that the main character cannot feel pain, and while that seems simple on the surface, it is a little bit complicated. And what can he feel? What can't he feel? How does it still affect his body, even if he can't feel it? And I thought they had tackled that part of the movie really, really well. I thought they handled the whole pain and condition and everything like that really well. And so I'm totally okay with suspending my disbelief when it comes to something like that, but not so much if I have to suspend my disbelief in, like, how did this character get across town in a minute and a half, that stuff seems more like bad writing to me. It's just like, hey, there's no way they could have gotten there that quick, or there's no way that this could have happened. That should have just been addressed, I feel like, in the script, and that's what I mean by, like, technically perfect, is that there's nothing that I'm sitting there watching and it just takes me out of the film. But that being said, so it wasn't technically perfect, but the movie was Really, really entertaining. It it perfectly created this world and this character and this story that I loved, and it was hilarious. It made me laugh, and made me laugh, and I would absolutely recommend this movie to anybody who just loves fun adventure action movies. And like I said, I do have some problems with it that I'll mention in a bit, but they were not enough to impact my enjoyment of the film. The film was super enjoyable, and I would definitely recommend it to people. So now let's go into a little bit of a summary of the movie. The movie starts with this guy, Nathan Kane, I believe his name is, and Nathan has a condition where he can't feel pain. And so because of that, he's sort of decked out his house with a bunch of stuff that's going to help him navigate life in a way where he can't feel pain. Because at first, when you hear that, you think like, oh, he's like a superhero, and that's referenced in the film as well, like that he can just do whatever he wants because he can't feel pain. But they really did a good job of talking about the downside of not being able to feel pain, which is like, he gives the example of that he stepped on a nail, and he doesn't even realize that he stepped on a nail until his entire foot is like bleeding blood out of his shoe because he can't feel it. And this is where it sort of asks you to suspend your disbelief, because like sure, he can't feel pain, but can he not feel pressure? Can he not feel anything? That's sort of an unanswered question in the movie. But he also is unable to eat solid food, because if he bites his tongue, he could bite his tongue off and not even realize it. So they create this like downside for him. And also, not being able to feel pain doesn't prevent you from dealing with the ramifications of, being in a painful situation. Like, if you get stabbed, you're still going to die. You're not immortal. You just won't feel the pain of it. And so, like, his house, like I was saying, is kind of set up in a way. He has this, like, when he turns the dial for the shower, he has a little thing that blocks him from making it too hot, because he wouldn't notice the pain of it being too hot if it was too hot. So he has a little place so he doesn't accidentally make it too hot and like burn his skin. And then he has, tennis balls on all these corners and different things to prevent him from hurting himself. And he works at this bank, and he has this crush on this coworker who's been there for a little bit. And she spills coffee on him and then invites him out to lunch to like make up for it. And go out to lunch, and they kind of hit it off, and they have their like meet cute thing. And she comes over to his house, and then this is where we sort of get this look into what can he feel, what can't he feel, because she has this romantic scene with him where she kisses him, and she's like, "Can you feel this? Like, can you feel pleasure?" And and he says he can feel something, which was kind of a cop-out answer, so we don't really know exactly what he can feel based on that. Anyway, after this, he goes back to work the next day, and he's stoked about that he got to have a night with this girl that he was into, and his coworker's there. But then these guys come in and rob the place. And they rob the place, they kill his boss, and they take this girl that he got to know hostage. And he decides that he's going to go after this girl and try to save her. This girl that he's only gone on one date with. And this gets us to the lock-in. And if you don't know what a lock-in is, it's essentially a moment in every movie, really in every story, where the main character is forced to make a decision that is going to progress the story of the film. Um, Sorry, let me write this down. So, lock in when Nathan decides to go after the girl that he went on a date with. That was kidnapped from the bank. And so, normally, I'd actually say that this is a very bad lock-in, because guy goes on one date with a girl and then decides to risk his life chasing after her from people that just shot his boss in front of him. That seems pretty unlikely, right? It would probably be easier and better for him to let the police handle it, right? Why would he, this random dude who's sort of scared of the world because everything could injure him and kill him without him even feeling it, why would he decide that he's going to be the one to go and save this girl? And so generally, I would have been really disappointed with that lock-in. However, there are two things that this movie did well with this lock-in that help make it feel more believable. And one of them is, on his first date with the girl, he talks about how his doctors had told him that people with this condition actually are only expected to live until 25. And because of that, he's already past his expected live to date, because he's 30. He was supposed to die by 25, now he's 30. And so it makes sense that he would feel a certain level of nothing to lose, right? So Nathan feels like he has nothing to lose because he is already over his expected age to live to. And so that makes sense. And then, because of his condition, he's been stuck inside and generally kind of hidden, thinking that he would never live a normal life or find a romantic partner. In fact, outside of, going to work, which, again, even his work desk and everything has the tennis balls, it's all very made for him to be safe. He goes home and then he plays video games inside his house with this friend that he's made online. And so he doesn't have any friends. He doesn't go out to any work parties. He doesn't do anything because he's so scared of his condition and getting injured. And so when he does break that and goes out with Sherry, forces him to eat this piece of pie and sort of challenge his fear. And then he gets to have this, wonderful night with this girl who likes him. And he's, because he's inexperienced and immature, he's thinking he's already in love with this woman. And this is actually really believable because of his condition, because of his upbringing, and because he never thought that he would have this. So Sherry symbolizes both things for him. This idea of being able to live a normal life and not live in fear of his condition, being able to go out and do things. And she also symbolizes, obviously, his love interest and that he might actually be able to have a romantic partner. And since this is all a big first for him, it helps to make it believable that he would go and chase this girl, because he might think that this is his last shot at finding this type of happiness that his single date brought him the night before. And the lock-in does actually evolve and change in this film. So after he's gone, let me relationships, feels like he's already in love with Sherry, despite it only being one date. Okay. And so the lock-in changes after the first big fight scene. I'm pretty sure it was after the first fight scene. The police actually call him on his cell phone, and he answers. And he realizes that the police don't know that he's going after this person and trying to save, his girlfriend. They are actually concerned that he might be in on the job and trying to, get the money from the bank, and he might be responsible for part of this. And that creates a different lock-in, because now he doesn't really have the option to go back, because now the police are also after him. He has become a suspect in this case, so now he can't go back and just hand this off to the police because he's a suspect, and that also locks him in to further go after. They also add a little dialogue scene where he tells the detective that, he cares about this person, Sherry, so much that it would be equivalent to the detective if her daughter was kidnapped. And he's all like, would you just leave it to the police if it was your daughter who was kidnapped? And the detective doesn't say anything, but she's kind of like, point proven, and so the detective sort of understands him a little bit better at this point. Obviously, she can't really condone that he's a vigilante going after justice, but she also doesn't condemn him for it. And that is it for lock-ins. So now we're going to get to talking about what his pain is really like doing, and how they present it in the film, and the comedic approach of like the fight sequences, because the fight sequences in this film are much different than fight sequences in other action films. And the reason for that is because he doesn't feel pain. So obviously, if he gets punched in the face, he's still punched in the face, so he's still gonna move back or whatever, but he doesn't feel it, so he can kind of just keep going. And they create this balance in the film between him not feeling pain and simply the human body's ability to keep going even when damaged. It's sort of, it's, how do I explain it? Like, obviously a lot of people, if they were like being tortured or something, they would tap out because of the pain, not because, that their body can no longer function, but it's too painful. So you remove the pain, and then you have to ask this question of like, okay, well, like, for example, if you just broke all 10 of your fingers, okay, you can't use your hands anymore, but it doesn't hurt. You're not in pain over it. You can still do stuff. You could still slap somebody and it'd be fine. But you're not going to be able to pick up a coffee mug anymore. I don't know. These are dumb examples, but that's the idea that they're like playing with in the film, is how far can somebody push their body if they don't feel pain. And I thought this was really well done. The actor had to essentially act like something had happened, like something hit him, or he felt some type of pressure, but it wasn't pain. And I thought that this actor just did an incredible job of reacting to things that should have been painful in the same way that somebody else might react to, like, being tapped on the shoulder. You're like, huh? And I also thought that the script and the director, they had a very creative use of fighting techniques that would have not have been possible by somebody who feels pain, which made the fight scenes really interesting and different than your typical action movie. Some examples are when he punches the glass on the floor, and I think even the tattooer guy's reaction to it was actually really interesting, because he is sort of surprised by it. He's like, what is this dude doing? Punching this glass on the floor, like, has he completely lost it? And I think that's a completely reasonable reaction to seeing somebody do that. And it creates just enough of a pause and a gap in the fight for Nathan to get the advantage. Another one is when they're in the kitchen fight and he grabs the hot frying pan, and the other guy just holds out his hands and catches it, which is very much what a strong man type fighter would do. He'd just be like, I'm just gonna catch this, not realizing that it's searing hot. And so I loved a lot of the creative fighting techniques that were done in this film. Moving on to the third act twist. Now, the third act twist I felt actually came pretty early in this film, but it was perfect. I thought it was really unexpected. It was game-changing. This is also probably the biggest spoiler of the film so far, so at this point, definitely the film is going to be spoiled. And this is when the robbers have Sherry back at the what's it called, the automotive automotive store, and the kidnapper is talking to Sherry and kind of trying to get her to communicate with them, because she's been giving them the silent treatment. And at some point, she calls the kidnapper by name in a very familiar way, and you realize that she wasn't kidnapped, that she's a part of this, that she's in on this. And I feel like, I don't know for sure that I did, but I feel like I audibly gasped. Like, I did not see that coming at all. And normally I can see twists coming in movies, and so I thought they did a really good job of not making that obvious. And I thought back to all of the dialogue with her since she's been kidnapped up to this point, and it was really well written, where the dialogue was applicable whether she was a kidnapped victim or whether she was in on it. And so none of the dialogue from Simon, from the kidnappers, really gave it away. And I thought that was just really, really well done. And also, the timing at which they reveal it was really cool, because you've already seen Nathan go through so much and put himself in this irreversible situation where he has killed a man now, in the name of rescuing Sherry, and then you find out that Sherry's in on it and doesn't really need to be rescued. And it's heartbreaking that Nathan has put himself in this horrible position for this girl who just used him. And so it's a really emotional moment, and I think that just has to do with the timing and the writing, and I just thought it was really well done. So let's write some of that down. Sorry, I keep forgetting to take my notes. But the reveal of Sherry being in on the heist was heartbreaking in more than one way, because we realized that Nathan's efforts and irreversible reversible actions are in vain, and that he's sort of walking into a trap. And so, yeah, that sucks. And so, now let's get into a part that I didn't love, and that is the villain, Simon. I think he was originally supposed to have a character development. Simon was supposed to have some type of character development, and I don't know if this got like cut from the script or if it just wasn't done well in the film. I'm not really sure what happened here, but the reason that I think he was supposed to have some character development is because Sherry is his sister, which we find out later, and obviously she supports him and has supported him in being a criminal and living this type of life. We find out that she used to race cars when she was younger, so she definitely has been a part of a criminal lifestyle, criminal family for a while, and has supported him throughout all of this. And we even find out that she's well aware that he's killed people before, and she has been on board with that as well. And so there is this sort of unbelievable moment where Sherry picks Nathan over her brother. And the question is, why? And I think what was supposed to be the reason and what they were going for was Simon had gone from being I don't even know how to describe it, but a regular criminal, murderer, thief, to someone who had a psychotic break and was just pure evil at some point, basically. And the reason I think this is because she does have a line of dialogue where she says, I don't even recognize you anymore. I don't even know you anymore. And that would make sense if we had seen some character development from Simon, going from maybe this brother that was nice to her and helping her and all this stuff, to this, crazy psycho killer. But honestly, in my opinion, Simon's character was pretty much the same throughout the entire film up until this point. I didn't feel that he had changed at all, and we never got to see his relationship with Sherry prior. So, but we do know that Sherry was, like I said, on board with a lot of this stuff. And so I'm not really sure how he changed and what specifically he did that made Sherry no longer feel like she knew him and no longer wanted to support him. And it didn't take away from the enjoyment of the film, but just going back and analyzing it, that seems like a really weak reversal. And she really hadn't known Nathan really that well either. She had just had the one night with the guy, and like I said earlier with the lock-in, that it makes sense that Nathan would feel like he's in love with Sherry because of all of his reasonings. I don't imagine that Sherry has the same reasonings. I don't imagine that she has never been with a guy. I don't imagine that she has never gone on a date before. I don't imagine that she has some disability or anything like that. The only thing we know about her is that she was in some type of psychological treatment for cutting. And so she clearly wasn't happy with her life, and that, could make you feel like maybe, okay, well, she clearly wasn't happy with her life, so maybe she wanted a way out, she wanted something, and maybe Nathan was that sort of way out of this lifestyle for her. Kind of unclear. I just think it could have been maybe cleaned up a little bit if Simon did have more character development from a brother who really took care of her to this psychotic killer who cared more about essentially being evil and his life of crime than he did his own sister. And then she would start to have like more of a reason. And what's interesting is that I do think that after that exchange, and after his sister decided to support Nathan, it does feel like they go down the road of wanting Simon to be a psychotic mess. As he's driving this ambulance to the harbor and all this other stuff, he becomes almost like a Joker type villain, in my opinion. He's just like laughing, and he's just like, I might die, but you're gonna die with me, and blah blah blah. And he doesn't have the same like thought process of like a regular villain, where he got all this money and now he's gonna go live in another country and just be rich for the rest of his life, which is sort of the vibe that you get at the beginning. And now he's just sort of like chaos. And I don't feel like there was enough motivation to get him there. Like I said, his development was just very odd. And then when it comes down to the very end of the film, and he is about to kill Sherry, he says a line that is not, I'm pretty sure not accurate. And he references the fact that Nathan can't feel pain, because Nathan screams or something because he doesn't want Sherry to die, and Simon says something like, I finally found something that makes you feel something, or something like that. And I am pretty sure throughout the entire film, Simon doesn't know that Nathan has his disability, that he can't feel pain. He doesn't have that information. If Sherry had given that information to Simon, then it seems like the brothers would have also known, and they clearly didn't know because the brother is trying to, torture him there. Also, it doesn't make sense with Simon at the end, like breaking Nathan's like wrist. There wasn't really a lot of reason to do that unless you thought he could feel it, unless you thought you were inflicting pain. And so the fact that he somehow then knows that he can't feel pain and says that line just really felt out of place and wrong. And so that was just that line. I think that one line of dialogue was my least favorite part of the whole movie. A line of dialogue that seems misplaced, as I don't believe Simon knew that Nathan couldn't feel pain. And yeah, that's about it. They end the movie with some cutesy stuff, and like I said, I do think it was a very feel good type of movie that most people would really enjoy. And the reviews online all say the same, that people do seem to be very much enjoying it. And so thank you so much for going and seeing this movie with me. Thank you for letting me talk it out and share my points of view on it. And if you'd like to let me know what you thought of this movie, please let me know in the comments, and I'd love to have a little more discussion about it. Yeah, thank you so much.